Okay, I wanted to follow up on something from class that we were talking about right at the end, and that was working with outliers. By looking at the data, I feel like there may be a possibility that we have a cluster of um, numbers that are around a central core, and then maybe these like really high out there numbers and some low out there numbers. And sometimes if you get rid of like the highest these kind of high maybe aberrations of peaks and high and the lowest numbers, you can get like a closer cluster of uh, data that once that is scaled, you get a much more kind of interesting responsive scale. So let me show you how we would do that. Basically, what we're going to do here is getting rid of the top um, two or three numbers that come out. So this is for the peak one. I created this really kind of little easy bit of logic. Let's say our peak data number, we don't want it to be higher than 500. So what's going on here is if we uh, put in a number, any number that's lower than 500 is going to get through. But as soon as I hit 500, this gate closes and 499 will be the maximum that's coming through here. You'll see I'm scrolling up higher, 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 nothing. So if we connect this next thing to our peak, then we'll get a new peak if we put in the number here that is our, you put one less than the current peak, or you could just put the current peak in here, and then anything that comes through there, you'll get the next highest peak, and that way you can use that to scale your numbers. Okay, I'll show you exactly what I mean. Here's the opposite version. We could do it for the trowel. If we want something, we always want something that's going to be less than, if you were looking for numbers that, if this is the lowest number that we currently have, we want to see what the next lowest number is. Let's say we're underneath 500. You're not going to start to see, there you go. So now the gate opens only when it's over 500. Okay, so we're going to use these two little pieces of logic to try to get data that is going to make better sounds instead of having these in other words, those extreme ones are potentially taking away the details and fun of the cool things that are going on in the cluster of the data at the center. Okay, so here's our regular brain playback patch. I'm still using Abigail's thing for whatever, it just was there, and I've just got in that encapsulation. Uh, we've got the what's really going on. So I've just copied and pasted those things in there that I was just showing you. Now, the current low and high that I came up with when I just ran it straight through like we've been doing all the time, the low is 2345, 665,315 is the high. So you can see that's what we were scaling it with there. Now, if I want to see what's the next highest number and what's the next lowest number, that's what we're going to do now, and we're going to use that trick I just showed you. So I'm going to take 665,314, 665,314. It's just one less than this number. And then for the one here, I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 6, one higher than. Although with that greater than, we're fine if you just enter the numbers right in there. Okay, so now that's looking good. For the peak, you got to throw in, put in a low number here, so anything that comes in now when we run the data is going to actually be the high numbers. That'll give us a right thing, and then we'll do like the opposite version of that, put just a high number into the trowel. And what we do is we just set this to be 0. That just sets our counter at 0, and now let's run it. Okay, we'll go back, and before we can even get there, we have new data points. Okay, so our new the next lowest one, instead of 2345, is 4138, and the next highest one is 634442. So we took about 30,000 less with that last leap there. So that's potentially good. So actually, I ran this before. You would just plug your those numbers into the scale, and now you can you want to use this thing called a Z-map instead of scale, because um, it will clip these at this number, so it won't go over. If a number comes through that's less than that, it won't go over that. It won't go to that number, and it won't go above that. So just use the Z-map. It's the same thing as the scale. Let's do it one more time. So I'm going to take this new number, 63442, 63442, 63442, okay, and the new bottom, 4138. Okay, I got to put 0 in here, and now reset that to 0, run it. Okay, the new low is, that's wrong. We'll have to figure out what's going on here. I might have had to, let me just do this again. I might have to feed in a higher number, set it to 0. This one we're going to have to do 2. This should be the right number, 604424, yep. And let's run this. We're just looking for the trow at this point. Okay, the new trow is 4936. Okay, so it's this right here. Okay, so now what you can do is use this number to use these to do your scaling, and you've gotten rid of those kind of outliers that could be potentially making the central data less interesting, because you've had to scale it, so you've had to map it with these very wide ranges. So it gives you a much kind of tighter scaling. Okay.